It was kind of like nobody really expected that kind of plot. It kind of just popped up and shook everybody.
When someone says Harry Potter, I just think of being younger and watching all the movies. I remember being younger and just loving it so much. I just think it's the greatest story ever. Like, when someone says they haven't seen Harry Potter, I'm just like, you have to see it. It's like the greatest story ever. It's so good. And I don't know, like when I watch Harry Potter, I get excited, I guess. I also get sad, like when things are sad. Like in the last movie, when Dobby dies, it was so depressing. He was just the nicest elf.
You know, there's like romance and violence and action or whatever subplots throughout. It was perfect. It was perfect.
So this takes me back to my childhood because I was reading these whenever I was younger. And this was me pretty much like rebelling against my mom because she didn't like the books because they had magic in it. And that was like the work of the devil and blah, blah, blah. But no, those books helped me really relate to other people.
Whenever I first became aware of Harry Potter, it was more geared towards young adults. But as the series continued, it gained the attention of adults. I remember the first time that I had any real connection to the series was, of all places, Sam's Warehouse. They were showing me Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone movie. We hadn't read the books before, but it was nearing the end of the movie. The professor with the turban, Professor Quirrell. Professor Quirrell was revealing to everybody that he had He Who Must Not Be Named's face on the back of his head. And I started freaking out because you're like 7 or 8 at the time, and I'm like, he's gonna freak out seeing this guy's weird configuration of Voldemort on the back of this guy's head. So I'm like, crap. I guess that was the first time.
If I were to let my children watch it, I would definitely let them read the book first, then have a more discussion on the movie.
I had this one cool teacher who would let me stay late in her class and let me read the books since I couldn't read them at home. Because, like, my presence there really caused attention, just kind of like Harry's. Plus, I was stuck in a room that was damn near the size of a closet. My life was pretty much just like Harry's.
I was really invested in what this series had to offer. Like, I matured and developed just like the characters did. With every new book, new series, Harry Potter's just more than the boy who lived. He's the boy we grew up with.
Like, when the books first came out, I was around the same age as the kids in the books. So, in a way, while reading the books, I felt like I was growing up with them while they were growing up, and it was this cool, fun, magical universe that I got to spend a bunch of time in.
I would agree with anyone that says that books are better than the movies.
When I first watched the movie, I was so excited. I enjoyed the book when I was a kid. I can't remember very much of it now, but I remember I was excited and happy. Nothing is the same like after you experience it that the first time.
Goblet of Fire, best. I think it got a little darker towards the end of the book, but you turned this fun, magical world and turned it into something that was real and had consequences.
I really invested in all what the J.K. Rowling series had to offer. I was younger with Mary, and we grew up and lived in the attic together because that was a bedroom that we shared. I was so young when the first book came out, so Mary had to read them to me, and she would read them to me at night. As I got older, though, I did gotten more with the series. And around Thanksgiving, it was when my family would come in, and my entire family would enjoy reading and discussing the Harry Potter books. We would gear up and go see the new movies that would come out around that time.
Yeah, so when I was younger as well, my mom would read me the book as well. And I really liked it. Like, I really, really liked it. And I don't know, I never really read the books personally. I'm not really the biggest reader. But I don't know. I would like to one day, I guess, just because now I can visualize the people and the situations. And so I think I can do that.
I'm a big reader. My major is English Lit, so obviously I read all the time. In middle school, I read almost every author. In middle school, we had a huge library, so I was taking home like 3 books home a night. That's when I came across Harry Potter. By the time I was in like 7th, 8th grade, I read so much. I had read like all 7 books within like 2 weeks.
Harry Potter is such a great group of stories. I mean, J.K. Rowling created this whole new universe, this whole new set of rules that these characters had to grow up with and to follow. It was a whole different world. And, you know, it was really, and even though she used elements of the current world to make it more realistic, it almost felt like, yeah, that could work, that could be an actual thing out there. And so I guess it's really intriguing how well she was able to fold in the imaginary world with the real world.
Harry did undergo a lot of bullying just like any other kid. But wasn't he pretty good and pretty famous after he found out he was pretty good at sports?
Snape was half blood prince and half muggle. Wizards usually have two parents who are wizards, but sometimes they can have two parents who are like human, who are like muggles, and still be wizards. So they're like mixed, and Snape is half and half. So you get to know more about him, and he was so dope, like really dope.
I don't think there are any real-life fashion draws, none that I picked up on. I didn't really watch it with that frame in mind, you know. I wasn't looking for it. I might see some point that the author was trying to make, but I purely watch it for enjoyment.
It's pretty common that kids lose their parents. Kind of builds a sense of connection and correlation for the audience.
I think the fourth book introduced the concept of death, like when Harry's parents were killed by Voldemort, or when the people died in the war. This is the first time you get to see the characters experience death for the very first time, and you start to see that this is a world that has consequences.
I think that magic is real. I mean, we do use only 20% of our brain, but with magic, we kind of unlock more of our brains. But with science, you kind of can't mess up, but with magic, you do kind of mess up in a sense.
So, like, these books that I read, they try to, like, help me relate with the people at school, especially with the characters. Like, Hermione, whenever the trio first got together, Hermione was, like, always trying to be right, and that's me. Literally, to a T, that's me.
I don't know how I feel. There has to be a place for ghosts and spirits, kind of like they might be in our presence here with us.
Like in the Chamber of Secrets. That's like my favorite one. I absolutely adore it. And I don't know, I think it's really cool. It's also kind of scary a little. It freaked me out when I was younger. But I don't know, I just like how there's blood on the walls, and I think it's really interesting with how little they were and how much crazy shit they went through.
They do a pretty good job with the visual aids. I mean, until Hermione starts to get older and her hair is not as crazy poofy as it was before and they actually start to style it more. But I think that was more of a visual thing for the movies instead of adapting it from the books. But overall, they had a really great cast of characters to stick with through the whole entire series. Except for the new Dumbledore in the second movie. True story. I don't know, his beard wasn't as white and he just wasn't as cool.
So the snake that can petrify in the second book, I think is pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of Medusa a little bit.
They're big books towards the end. And realistically, you can't put everything that's in the books in the movies. Like the books, they are like this cool, huge, magical world, and in the movies, you seem to miss that in a little bit.
I know that a lot of people are almost obsessed with Harry Potter.
I would consider myself a super fan. I mean, I know there are people that are like way more super than I am, but I've never been beaten in Harry Potter trivia. True story. I also have a wand collection that I started when I was in middle school.
So in the fourth one, they have those games, you know, the Goblet of Fire, and I really like how they had like all the other wizards from other schools come there. And out of all the games, I can see myself doing the one where they have to chew that thing that makes them turn into a fish, kind of. And they have to go under the water for like 2 hours or something.
The invisibility cloak, like how could you not like that? You can go to concerts for free and not pay for them, and you go to off-limit parts of the Pentagon and Area 51. You know there is secret stuff happening up in there.
Okay, so there's the Sorting Hat, and each new kid at Hogwarts has to put on the sorting hat, and it basically like reads your mind or whatever, and like reads your soul or whatever, and puts you in the house that they think is basically good for you. So once they do that, then they would put you in the house that's good for you, and that's obviously not Hogwarts because obviously it's not real.
And a really cool part was we placed all of our judges into each one of the 4 houses. I set up my iPhone and some speakers. You were under the table. You could see everything. And so you would use the voice of the sorting hat to create this illusion that you were the sorting hat. You'd be like, yes, some interesting case, and this one's strong of heart, and whatever a sorting hat would do. And then you'd be like, better be Gryffindor. And the whole club would go, yay.
Oh, please pick me. Not Slytherin, not Slytherin, anything but Slytherin. Yay, I got Gryffindor! So just FYI, we are loyal and courageous, and we kind of toughen up when we go through hardships. Not saying that anyone doesn't go through hardships in other houses, but like we always toughen out, you know?
My house is Ravenclaw. There's 4 houses. There's Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and of course Slytherin. Right here at Ravenclaw, we're like smart and witty, like the nerdy kids. There's nobody really famous in our house, just like a lot of professors or whatever.
I have Dumbledore, Hermione, Harry. I don't have Ron's wand. I'm not really sure why I don't have Ron's. Lupin's, Voldemort's, and Dean Thomas. So a friend of mine went to Harry Potter World, and they went to Ollivander's to get me a wand. And it was like super crammed in there, and they had an anxiety attack, so she just grabbed the first wand she saw, Dean Thomas. I have Draco Malfoy. When that came out, they were advertising it as Harry's because it was right around the time of the movie. You know, Harry like disarms Draco, so they're like, it's Harry and Draco. Not really if you go by the books. And I have a Snatcher's wand that Ron gives Harry after his wand is broken.
We didn't get any of those. We didn't feel like we needed them. We felt like we had the gist of the story from the movies. We just weren't that fanatical about it.
See, I thought it was really clever. So like how in the first movie, Hagrid's like, you're a wizard, Harry. And then Harry's like, I'm a what?
My favorite book is the Half-Blood Prince because Snape. Okay, being that you don't know Snape, he's like the resident evil bad guy throughout the whole series, like literally until he dies. And once he dies, that's when you find out he was really a good guy all along, like really all along.
It's fun seeing the characters that I got to grow up with. You get to see them start off younger and then get as older, and you tend to grow up with them as well.
If you haven't guessed, I love Harry Potter.
Harry did the things he had to do, not because they were hard or not because it was easy, but it was something that needed to be done.
With the Wizarding World, it's like easy but hard and complex to understand at the same time. Like there's battles between good witches and bad wizards and everything like that. I would have to say a strong female lead though in this series, and also my favorite character would be Hermione Granger. Like Ron and Harry would not have lived without her quick knowledge and thinking of magic. And also Dobby the house elf. Like he was so loyal to Harry, and he was master and a friend until his death. R.I.P. Dobby.
Hermione, I would say she's a very heroic character in Harry Potter. She shows a very strong feminine role in Harry Potter.
I say I really like Sirius. I mean, even after all he's been through, he spends 13 years in Azkaban because he was totally betrayed, but he jumps out and he's like ready to jump into a parental role with Harry, and you know, that obviously doesn't happen. And he's so real. Like even with the Order of the Phoenix, like he's sitting down with them and he knows these kids are about to go through some serious shit. Everybody else wants to protect him. He wants to prepare them.
There were a lot of bad guys in this movie. Voldemort is like the main guy who's evil, but I like the guy. But Draco's that was awful, but Voldemort is the most evil, I think.
Dumbledore is pretty accurate as a teacher. He is the headmaster at Hogwarts. I guess you can compare him to like what, our dean of students or our president.
DOLORESUMBRIDGE. She's the one in all pink, and she is the most hated character out of the entire series. With Voldemort, you just know he's bad, but he's your typical villain. Dolores Umbridge is like the worst teacher that you have ever had. Everyone can empathize.
Dolores, yeah, that one, she's crazy. She's crazy.
I hate Umbridge. She's just like that teacher that you had in school, and you just hate her. You hate her so much. Okay, have you seen any of the movies? Okay, like in the 5th one, she has all these crazy rules and punishments, and you're just like, I hate her. With Voldemort, yeah, you know he's bad, but everyone's had a teacher like Dolores Umbridge.
I don't think I like using assault as a type of punishment. Like when Dolores got dragged off into the woods with the Minotaurs at the end, I think they should have just handed her over to the Ministry of Magic so she could be punished by the Ministry by themselves. I don't know. I think it was wrong.
Trigo, man. That guy is so rude and mean and hateful. I know at the end of the movie he started getting better, and he actually does something pretty like heroic and good, but he was mostly very rude and controlling.
Umbridge.
I mean, I guess I like Lupin as well. I mean, totally basing this one off of the movies, but like, and he comes in, he's the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. He's kind of like the cool uncle for Harry. I don't know, he just teaches it different than all the other ones. They all go like pretty dark with it, but Lupin makes it fun and useful for their futures.
I just think the whole idea of enemies and opposite attract is like a whole thing. Like I grew up and I saw pictures of Draco and Harry kissing each other, and I was like, ooh, cool, I like that. That's fun. That's something I'm into. And so those were the first 2 characters that I started to role play. And even though they're not canon in the books, I still think that's a ship that is my favorite.
We had a 4-H cookout, and the theme we chose was Harry Potter. And so, of course, we also found a Harry Potter cookbook. And so, of course, we make butterbeer, because why not? We made these pastels, and a lot of other stuff. Gee, it's been a while. But anyway, everything that we did came from the Harry Potter cookbook. A Harry Potter cookbook? Come on, people. You haven't heard of a Hobbit cookbook, have you? No. Well, anyway, we ended up winning that year for our theme and our butterbeer.
I did have a role play a few years back that lasted a while. We got really angst with it. We created this world for ourselves where it was fun and nice, and it was something that we could hold on to. It was something that we created for ourselves, and it was just the best.
We created posters and stuff like that. We used the same font, the same style, so it looked just like Harry Potter's world. We had Sirius Black. We even had potions. And someone made Harry Potter party favors.
I was 7, let's be honest, but with everyone staying in the movies, you could really see them growing into the team and into the characters. And I still remember this one picture that I saw, probably on Pinterest, and it said, "What did your book character describe your looks as?" And one of them was Dolores Umbridge, and it said she had a frog-like face that was all scrunched in and everything.
Hysteria. There was a big hysteria when the last book came out, because everyone's like, this is where it's all gonna end. We were part of that hysteria too. It was so crazy that we even bought a hardbound book, which is crazy for us because we don't buy first runs of anything.
I guess that everything happened for a reason. Friendship is the key to make your dreams work. Friendship is the key to succeed in anything that you do. Good win over evil.
Good and evil, that's what it's all about.
And friendship.
And staying the course.
And dealing with change.
And learning to battle.
Triumph.
After 20 years, we are still talking, reading, and watching Harry Potter.
It won't die out. I won't let it.